Big Ten hater Paul Finebaum is wrong so often about the Big Ten, the SEC, Curt Cignetti, Indiana football, that his career is in jeopardy. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Shemon, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. And I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We always appreciate that. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hey, if you could, hit that free subscribe button down below. That way you'll never miss a single episode. It really helps us out too. Plus, you could share, like, and follow and hype as well. So Paul Finebaum, wrong again. What's new? But this time he admitted it. That's right. Plus, former Michigan coach Sherrone returning to a Michigan courtroom this week with his lawyer. What happened there? We'll have our pigskin and basketball picks for the weekend. All that coming up. But first, ESPN's top Big Ten hater and SEC adore Paul Finebaum had to make a little bit of a mea culpa on his radio show this week. He finally acknowledged what we knew all along, that Indiana is the best football team. Now, they're actually in the conversation for the best football team ever, maybe along with Joe Burrow's LSU team that was undefeated. I mean, that comes to mind as well. But Finebaum went so far as to admit that the entire Indiana football story, with their miserable past stretching back more than a century, is now the greatest college football story of all time. Not one of them, the greatest of all time. I'd have to agree with him, actually. And by the way, here's the big part. He admitted that the Big Ten is better than his beloved SEC. Whoa, let's take a breath here. Let's let that breathe for a moment. We've done numerous podcasts talking about Paul Finebaum at ESPN railing on the Big Ten and saying how great the SEC is and always having his head in the sand. Let's let it breathe. He said some good things here this week. He's built an entire career bagging on the Big Ten, and he's had his head in the sand regarding the SEC for so long that he always failed to realize that there's some awesome football north of the Mason-Dixon line. That's his fault. That's his greatest weakness. Look, weakness. He's highly compensated by ESPN and by his radio show to make such comments, throwing red meat to the base, if you will. But he's wrong a lot. It's unbelievable, really. It's harmed his credibility. And we like to make fun of it. So, I'll give you some examples. All season long, he said he didn't believe in Curt Cignetti and the Indiana football team. He kept waiting for their bubble to burst, and it never did. He kept mentioning that their light non-conference schedule meant that they weren't for real. And to that, by the way, he's not the only one that says that. What does it matter at this point who you play in September if you're still good enough to be the last team standing in January? And by the way, let's just tap the brakes on the whole scenario about the schedule for Indiana. They had top 10 wins against Ohio State, Miami, Oregon twice, once at their place, by the way, number 9 Alabama in the Rose Bowl. And when they beat Illinois, they were ranked 9th. And by the way, their win against Iowa, they were a top 25 team at the time too. Indiana's schedule was full of ranked wins this year. So let's ease up on the argument that they don't play anybody year in and year out. That's ridiculous. And for those like Finebaum that argued that the Big Ten is just a top-heavy conference of Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon, I will argue that Indiana's toughest regular season games this year came down to the wire at Iowa and at Penn State on the big throw that put Fernando Mendoza into the Heisman Trophy winner category, right? So you add a Big Ten championship game against Ohio State where Indiana faced adversity and still won. So the Hoosiers, when you look at Iowa, you look at Penn State, you look at the Ohio State game, along the way, The Hoosiers were battle tested. They had stressful situations. They had to make plays to win games that they otherwise could have lost. A lot of other teams would have lost those games. Those situations allow them to keep their cool when Miami drew within 3 points on 2 separate occasions in the national championship game. Indiana didn't bat an eye. So the problem with Finebaum's mea culpa is that he briefly admitted on Mike Greenberg's ESPN Get Up show last year after Ohio State's national championship that the Big Ten, they were the best. The Big Ten, he said it under his breath. The Big Ten, they're the best. They're better than the SEC. That was last year. Mumbled it. It was a big deal on the show. It almost stopped the show. Everybody was just stunned. But he quickly forgot, like he always does, because soon thereafter he began talking about how great the SEC was again, rambling on about Texas. They were going to win it all. Arch Manning was going to win the Heisman this year after they disposed of Ohio State in week 1, which, of course, they did not do. He praised Oklahoma. He praised Georgia, Alabama, all the usual suspects. All the while hearkening back to 2024, when Curt Cignetti's first season at Indiana produced an 11-1 record in the regular season and then a playoff berth. He kept saying that Cignetti and the Hoosiers were a one-hit wonder. And all along, he failed to realize that the 2025 team was even better than the year before. Again, when your head is in the sand, you miss stuff like that. Now, admitting you're wrong, like he did this week, admirable, honest, it's the adult thing to do. But at some point, when you're wrong about the Big Ten and its best teams year after year after year after year, you begin to have a wee little bit of a credibility problem, at least in my eyes. So I'll go a step further. You put your career in jeopardy. There's only so much hyperbole an audience could take. So he should be very careful there. And, it's not just the top teams in the Big Ten that he rails on. He's constantly calling USC's Lincoln Riley incompetent and a disgrace to coaching. Those are his words. Every year he says Lincoln Riley's on the hot seat and he's absolutely getting fired. And yet he's still there. He's consistently been wrong about that ice cold take. Riley's Trojans won 9 games this year. And he has the number 1 recruiting class in the country coming in this year. What's Finey say about that? Huh? When words like that come out of his mouth every year and he's wrong every year, it just sounds stupid. It's not even a shtick anymore. It's just stupid and dumb. And while he admits he was wrong about Cignetti, and he was wrong about Indiana, and he was wrong about the Big Ten, and he was wrong about the SEC, he'll get amnesia again. It'll come. Don't worry. You can set your watch to it. In a few weeks when we're doing spring football everywhere, right? When practice is underway across the country, he'll start touting how Steve Sarkisian and the Texas Longhorns are loaded and how Arch Manning will win the Heisman this year instead of last year, or how Kirby Smart's Georgia Bulldogs are back, or this is the year that Kalen DeBoer steps it up a notch at Alabama. These are the things that'll come out of his mouth. We'll bookmark this. We'll come back to it when it happens. It'll happen. He'll completely ignore Curt Cignetti, has completely reloaded the Indiana Hoosier roster with the 2nd highest rated transfer portal class in the country. They're going to remain. They're going to be another playoff team again. Or how about the Oregon Ducks? They're loaded. And, they were a little young in some places. Now they're a year older. And they brought in more talent. And they have the deepest quarterback room in America. So let's not forget about Ryan Day. He's going to completely reload. Nothing but 5 stars. I could go on. And I will. And, then we'll look up and the Big Ten will have won its 4th straight national championship a year from now. And then he's going to have to tell everybody he was wrong again. That's how it goes. I love the subject. I love having fun with him. I really do. Love to hear your comments on it. Let it rip. Let's go. Big Ten greater than SEC. Fact. Be sure to hit that free subscribe button down below, and that way you'll never miss another episode. And if you could share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, that helps us out too. Don't forget, we have a website, talkbig10.com. All of our podcasts go there. You can go check out yesterday's. Yesterday, in fact, we talked about the Michigan story with Sherrone Moore before his courtroom appearance. By the way, more on that in a minute. Accusations from a former player saying that he was blackmailed into keeping some players on the field because they knew what was going on behind the scenes. So that's on our website from yesterday, talkbig10.com. You can also click on the logo of your favorite Big Ten school, and it'll take you right to a store for that school. You can get shirts with your favorite school logo in the Big Ten, pennants, hats, shirts, coffee mugs, all that stuff right there. Talk Big Ten. Indiana National Championship stuff. That's right. Talkbig10.com. Okay. So Sherrone Moore, as I mentioned just a moment ago, he was back in the courtroom for his situation there where he got arrested on the day that he got fired. So we're going to talk about that. I'll let you know what happened in the courtroom and what is next. Plus, we'll have our weekend picks. And I will tell you, you can join the Everydayer Club. All that's coming up in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. FanDuel, they're in playoff mode. They're rolling. We're all rolling. It's going to be a big weekend. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel's been giving customers even more ways to get into the action because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack. That's waiting for you inside the app, ready to go. We got Championship Sunday, AFC and NFC Championship. Get yourself your profit boost pack. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts that you can apply to the bets that you like the most, taking the favorite, taking the underdog. Get used to it, people. The Patriots are going back to the Super Bowl again. We had Patriots haters. We had this nice little sabbatical where they weren't any good. They're going to beat a quarterbackless Broncos team. It's going to be unreal. Although I think the winner of the Super Bowl is going to be determined by the NFC champion with the Rams and Seattle. Anyway, jump in it with FanDuel. Make your picks, then apply your profit boosts and go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs are rolling right to the big game in February. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day at FanDuel. Thanks for checking us out here on Locked On Big Ten and making us your first listen each and every day. And also, thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Yeah, we're #1. It's a fact. Now, you already live your team every day with all your passion, and you can level it up and get our audio version of this podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get it. You get it ad-free. No interruptions. That's right. Get Locked On Big Ten, no interruptions. Also, it gets you access to members-only Discord. I was going back and forth with guys during the national championship. Love that. Love to see you on there. You can also just get all of it, just $5 a month, $50 a year. You can gift it. Just go to lockedonbig10.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes afterward for more information. As promised, I told you I was going to tell you what happened with Sherrone Moore, former coach at Michigan. So he returned to the courtroom on Thursday this week with his lawyer, who said that the charges filed against him in December, which included home invasion, should be dismissed. Cops say that Moore, shortly after getting fired on December 10th, entered a woman's apartment to blame her for losing his job. He then grabbed a butter knife and scissors and threatened to kill himself. He was fired earlier in the day for having a personal but inappropriate relationship with that woman, who worked for him at the university as a staffer for the football team. And according to athletic director Ward Manuel, Moore was also fired for lying about that relationship. The 39-year-old Moore faces 3 charges, including felony home invasion, stalking, and he pled not guilty back in December, and he's free on bail, but he's wearing a tracking device. Moore's lawyer says that she thinks the court should toss out Moore's arrest report because it's full of inaccurate statements, according to her, and omissions from the events of that day. She also filed a motion on Thursday to just toss the arrest, and the hearing for that will take place on February 17th. And Moore will have to appear in court on March 19th for a probable cause hearing. Moore arrived in court Thursday with his family, including his wife, in the Washtenaw County Courthouse, which is just 4 miles away from Michigan Stadium, where Moore earned $6 million a year as the team's football coach until December. By the way, Michigan fans, you'll know the name Jesse Minter. He was the defensive coordinator of the 2023 National Championship team under Jim Harbaugh, and he left the program with Jim Harbaugh to become the defensive coordinator of the LA Chargers. But now he's the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, who just fired Harbaugh's brother, John Harbaugh, after 18 years as head coach. I knew he'd be a head coach someday, just not in college. I think he's still got show cause penalties in effect from Spygate and his run at Michigan. Meanwhile, some other notes. Penn State. They've changed their schedule a little bit for 2027. Just wanted to let you know. So they're going to replace the Delaware game at Beaver Stadium. Maine is the new opponent. That'll be September 11th, 2027. It'll mark the first time that these two teams have played each other. By the way, the College Football National Championship game on Monday between Indiana and Miami did a massive number in the rankings. Massive. According to ESPN, the game averaged 30.1 million viewers across all of its platforms. It was the most watched non-NFL event in 10 years. The last such event was the Game 7 World Series between the Cubs and the Indians in 2016. But this was also, with the 30.1 million viewers, was a noticeable jump from last year's national championship between Ohio State and Notre Dame, which only did 22 million. A lot of people checking out Fernando Mendoza, right? As of this podcast recording right now, Indiana's national championship celebration is still a go at Memorial Stadium. It'll be Saturday at 1 o'clock. The event will air live on the Big Ten Network. However, much of the country, including Bloomington, is going to be affected by this massive winter storm that's going on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's huge. Ice, snow. They're measuring snowfall in feet, not inches, in some places around the country. So the forecast for Bloomington on Saturday calls for a high of 15 and a low of 3. Again, this celebration's outdoors in the football stadium. Maybe they'll move it to Assembly Hall. Maybe they'll postpone it. Maybe they'll cancel it. I'm not sure. I think more than 17,000 people are going to show up for it on any given normal day. Maybe with the weather, not so much the case. Maybe they can move it indoor to Assembly Hall. Not sure. So, high 15, low 3, with a 20 to 40% chance of snow that increases as the afternoon goes on. It should be around 11 degrees at 1 o'clock when this celebration is supposed to get going in the football stadium. The wind chill will make it feel like 2 degrees. I got a feeling you're going to postpone it or move it indoors, I guess. I'm not sure. I don't know what you do. Meanwhile, regarding basketball, Assembly Hall, Indiana, they're on the road, the basketball team, today, Friday, taking on Rutgers. That game is at 6 p.m. Eastern on FS1 tonight. And then Ohio State. Well, we love the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry. They're playing in basketball tonight, 8 o'clock on Fox. Michigan's number 3 in the country at 17-1. So they're playing tonight. I want to highlight a few things from Saturday. Number 7, Nebraska. Remember, they're undefeated. 19-0. They'll put that undefeated record on display at Minnesota. And Nebraska's coming off a 10-point win against Washington in their last game. This game will be at noon Eastern on Saturday on FS1. Maryland is at number 10, Michigan State. Did you see what and by the way, that's also at noon on CBS Saturday. Did you catch Tom Izzo's comments in the huddle at the Oregon game? He was looking at Curt Cignetti, and he said, "You couldn't guard my mother, who's 99 and a half years old." It was great. It was hilarious. I don't know if Tang thought it was funny. I think Izzo thought it was funny. I thought it was funny. Number 11, Illinois, taking on number 4, Purdue. Those two always have tough battles. That's a good game. A couple of ranked teams, 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox, and the Northwestern is at UCLA. UCLA at 13-6. They just beat Purdue. By the way, remember, Mick Cronin hates the Big Ten schedule. We talked about that 2 episodes ago. If you want to check that out for a second, listen. They play at 6 p.m., 3 p.m. Pacific on FS1. UCLA does. Sunday, Oregon is at Washington. That's at noon Eastern. I'm sorry, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on Peacock. USC is at Wisconsin, 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific on Peacock. And just a couple of games I want to highlight from Big Ten women's basketball. Illinois at number 24, Nebraska Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern on Big Ten Network. Penn State is at Oregon. That's at 5 Eastern, Big Ten Plus. Sunday, Indiana and Purdue. We got the men, Michigan and Ohio State on Friday. Well, we got another big rivalry, Indiana-Purdue. That's on Sunday for the women at noon on Big Ten Plus, and a ranked battle between number 12 Ohio State and number 10 Iowa. That's right. Iowa's good again. Post Caitlin Clark. That's at 2 o'clock Eastern on Peacock. Quick look at that. All right, coming up, we got our picks. I don't normally do pigskin picks. We're out of college games to do. So we'll pick the NFL championship games on Sunday, and then some Big Ten basketball we'll sprinkle in there as well. That is all coming up in 1 minute right now here on Locked On Big Ten. Tax season, man, it is here. And it doesn't have to take over your life. Sometimes it can be intimidating or just daunting. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off to TurboTax and move on with your life, move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish right there without the stress, the guesswork. I always used to wait, what's the number going to be when they get back to me? Well, you do it together right there. And instead of spending hours filling out forms, you can meet with your local TurboTax expert in person, connect online, whatever you want to do. I've done this personally for years. I wouldn't imagine doing it without them. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by the local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert did not file for you last year. So if you're new, this is the deal for you. Just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. That's turbotax.com/local. Thanks for checking us out here on Locked On Big Ten. It's time for our pigskin picks. It's a basketball picks. You said football picks. What are we doing, Craig? Well, we're going to do the NFC and AFC championship games since we don't have any college games. And, of course, we picked Indiana to win and cover. They didn't cover, but they won last Friday. So I'm going to put this on screen if you are on Apple or Spotify so you can see what's going on. It's just the graphics with the games and the point spreads. And I want to back up just a little bit. Here we go. Here is the NFC Championship Sunday lineup. We got Patriots and Broncos. Patriots are 5.5-point favorites. Broncos, the dog at home. 42.5 is the number. Look, the Patriots, they're not that exciting. They're just steady. The Drake May, Mike Vrabel combination works. And I don't know how, if you're the Broncos with Bo Nix with his broken ankle, putting Jared Stidham in, he's had one snap all year, was a kneel down snap against Dallas. I don't know how you can ask a backup to come in a conference championship game and get you to a Super Bowl. I just don't see it. So I think the Patriots win, the cover the 5.5. I would think that this would be a lower scoring game as well. A cold day. Again, the Patriots they're not really explosive. They're just steady. And I don't see how the Broncos offense scores a lot of points. The Broncos defense is pretty good. They may give the Patriots a fit a little bit for a while. But, yeah, I like the Patriots in this one and the under. Rams, Seahawks, I think the winner of this game is going to win the Super Bowl. The Seahawks, 2.5-point favorites at home. The number is 46.5. I like the over. I think we're going to have some offense here, even though the defenses are pretty good. At the end of the day, it's who are you going to take? Matthew Stafford or Sam Darnold in a big game? I'm going to take Matthew Stafford. So it looks like a Rams-Patriots Super Bowl for me. That's how I'm going to pick that with our pigskin picks. All right, let's take a look. I didn't put all the Big Ten basketball games on here. I just put a couple. Point spreads weren't out as of this taping. But I do like Indiana, who has struggled lately, to win at Rutgers this weekend. Ohio State, Michigan. This is Michigan all day long. Michigan basketball team's really good. Really good. And then Nebraska at Minnesota. Nebraska going to go for 20-0, right? Of course they're going to get it. They're on a roll. They look unbeatable. They are unbeatable. In fact, not only are they 19-0, they've won their last 23 games because they won in their postseason tournament they played last year as well. And Illinois at Purdue, I expect this to be a dogfight. It's at Purdue. I'll give Purdue the slight advantage because they're at home. But these two teams always fight tooth and nail. They always seem to be ranked or close together in the standings in the Big Ten, and this proves no different. So there we have it. I like Indiana, Michigan, Nebraska, and Purdue in Big Ten action this weekend. Those are the games we're going to look at, plus those conference championship games as well. Let me know what you think. You got a different opinion? Love to hear from you. No problem. No wrong answers here, at least until the games are played. Then we see who wins. Nevertheless, thanks for tuning in to this podcast. We are here every day, all 18 teams. We talk about the news of the day with these teams. We analyze that news, and then I give you my opinion on it. That's what makes us unique. Plus, we have all of our features with top 10 Big Ten observations on Mondays, Tuesday tweets, power rankings Wednesdays, Big Ten classics on Thursdays, and we make picks and go on the record on Fridays. We do that every week. Those benchmarks are always there. It's what makes this the most unique podcast out there. So welcome aboard. If you are new, hit that subscribe button. Now, I want to describe for you the difference. To subscribe here to this podcast, that's always free. This podcast will always be free. Now, we also offer an Everydayer Club service where you can get the audio version on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, ad-free, no interruptions, plus access to Discord and a lot of chat back and forth with locked on hosts and whatnot. You do this, you can join the Everydayer Club. It's $5 a month, $50 a year. You can go to lockdownbig10.supercast.com. There are more notes, our show notes. There's a link there as well. If you're interested there, I suggest you check that out as well. That'll do it, man. What a week this was. A championship week. Again, congratulations to the Indiana Hoosiers. That was exciting. A lot of basketball on our plate here. We are inching closer to March Madness. We'll be here for all of it every day on Locked On Big Ten. In the meantime, enjoy your weekend. This will be the first Saturday where we don't have any kind of football whatsoever. Season's winding down. It's just down to 3 more NFL games. College football's in the books. A couple more weeks, we'll be back at it with spring football. So we got a lot to cover. And that's what we do here each and every day. Thanks for checking us out. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday with all the latest for Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Shemon. We'll see you next time.